Good afternoon. So today we're going to be reading from Judges chapter 6. I've been meditating on this word for a while now. I'm going to break it up in increments only because some of the other platforms that I use, you can only post 10 minutes at a time. So I do apologize that I'm going to break this up into segments. But I can't wait to see what the Lord does with this word. So again, this is going to be Judges chapter 6, starting at verse 12, and this is the English Standard Version. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him and said to him, "The Lord is with you, O mighty man of valor." And Gideon said to him, "Please, my Lord, if the Lord is with us, why then has all this happened to us? And where are all his wonderful deeds that our fathers recounted to us, saying, 'Did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt?' But now the Lord has forsaken us and given us into the hand of Midian." And the Lord turned to him and said, "Go in this might of yours and save Israel from the hand of Midian. Do not I send you?" And he said to him, "Please, Lord, how can I save Israel? Behold, my clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house." And the Lord said to him, "But I will be with you, and you shall strike the Midianites as one man." And he said to him, "If now I have found favor in your eyes, then show me a sign that it is you who speak with me." So I just want to kind of go back and let this sit a little bit. So first and foremost, the Lord is with you, O mighty man of valor. Let's understand first and foremost what that word valor means, and then we'll look at where Gideon is in this moment. The word valor in Greek means courage, fearlessness, daring, nerve, boldness, and fortitude. Was Gideon brave and fearless? Where was he when the angel of the Lord was speaking to him? What were the circumstances at this time? The answer is Gideon was beating out wheat in a wine press. He was hiding from the Midianites. Hiding is not really indicative of bravery, is it? When people hide or try to avoid someone or something, it's usually done out of fear, cowardice, or intimidation. Gideon was afraid that the Midianites were going to steal his harvest. The question is, why? For 7 years, the Midianites had been oppressing God's people. The Lord had actually put Israel under the captivity of the Midianites for rebelling against him. These were his people. The Midianites drove them into hiding in mountains, caves, and strongholds. The Israelites would plant crops every year and tend to those fields all year long, only to have the Midianites come in at harvest time, steal the crops, and then destroy whatever was left over, whatever they didn't take. They would ravage the land completely and take away all their livestock. Wheat was usually beaten in a place called the threshing floor. The threshing floor was an open space, a visible space, where the wind would blow the straw, the chaff, away, and the good grain would fall to the floor. So Gideon was basically in this underground pit, hiding his harvest from the Midianites so that they didn't come and confiscate it. Gideon was just trying to feed his family so they wouldn't die of starvation. Gideon was improvising. He was using the resources that he had available The conditions were not favorable for Gideon, but this was necessary for survival. Gideon had developed a new strategy in the season that he was in, a tactic to protect what was rightfully his from being taken away. Gideon had lost hope. He didn't see a way out of his situation. He had lost faith in the same God who redeemed his ancestors from Egypt. Why has all this come upon us? He said. Where is the Lord that redeemed our ancestors with a mighty strong arm, brought them out of slavery? But now the Lord has forsaken us. The Lord gave us into the hand of our enemy. Gideon felt rejected by God. Gideon felt like he had been forgotten about and cast away. Sometimes we think we're in the hands of the enemy or that God has turned his back on us. And although it's true, there are consequences for our rebellion, and there always will be. Just because he turned us over to the enemy momentarily does not mean that he is any less sovereign or on the throne. God is always in full control. I think we forget that sometimes. The enemy may have been given access to you through doors that you open yourself or doors that your ancestors opened, or permission was given to sift you as wheat, but only because God allowed it. And only because he knows the end from the beginning. He sees what we don't. So he knows what the outcome of that sifting or that shaking is going to accomplish. And if it could save many people alive, God may choose to allow it. Go in this might of yours. Keep in mind, Gideon doesn't feel too mighty. He's under severe oppression. He's trying to hide what he worked so hard for so that it won't be stolen. He probably feels helpless, hopeless, intimidated, and weak. He may even feel like a coward. But he definitely doesn't feel like a mighty man of valor. But how many of us know when God speaks a word, an in-season word, that it becomes believable? It becomes a certainty. It becomes an assurance in that moment. Why? Because God spoke it. If God says, I'm fearless, full of courage and bravado, then it must be true. It must be true, because God is not a man that he should lie. God is holy and righteous. There is no sin in him. So God is telling Gideon, go in this might of yours and save Israel. Essentially, what the Lord is telling him in this moment is failure is not an option. You won't be defeated because I've given you everything you need to be successful in whatever it is that I send you out to do. You will overthrow your enemies, not only because it's my will, but because every battle you face is now my battle, and I don't lose. God is saying victory has always been mine. You will walk out of this triumphant because I am with you. I'm going to stop this right there and just hold out for part 2, okay?